What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skyman Premium Cannabis, inspiring all of us to love better, be better, feel better, for the Detroit Lions to play better every damn day of our lives. And our Sunday night show, brought to you by our friends at Muskox High Quality Flannels. Visit GoMuskox today, GoMuskox.com today. Purchase your flannel in time for Christmas. I just bought another one. I'm excited about it. And you can use the Couch in the Rube promo code CAW15. That's CAW15 for $15 off your purchase of a Muskox high-quality flannel. Jason, how you doing, man?
Peacock. What's up, buddy? Good to see you on this fine Sunday evening. Isn't it great? It's great to be a Lions fan.
What a life.
Right?
What a life.
I know. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, too.
Speaking of shirts, though, we have to promote our Christmas shirts.
Yeah. So if you want a Couch in the Rube shirt, we have those available as well, and need to get those ordered by the end of this week, right? The 16th?
Yes.
Okay. And we tweeted out the link. We'll put it on Facebook. I'll retweet it. But there's several different styles you can. I
mean, you have to have your order in by, I think, like the 14th or something like that, so we can get it to you, so we have it shipped by the time 16th, so we can get it to you before Christmas.
Okay.
Something
and
like
so, again, choices. There's the plain Couch in the Rube shirt, hoodie and tees, $25 to or $49. College refs are ass. Give me some Hoff. Don't coach my team. And, of course, caw. And if you have another idea for one, we've gotten a couple, shoot us a DM, and we'll see if that's possible.
The David Ortiz impression, we can do that for you.
Yeah, we can do that. Don't coach. What is it? This is my fucking city. Yeah, there. Yeah,
Jason, do you think that Bill Beekman?
Oh, man.
And also for people, this week is the last week for standard shipping on Muskox flannel. So if you're thinking about a Muskox flannel for Christmas, it's an awesome gift. They've got some holiday seasonal offerings as well. December 15th is the free shipping and standard shipping deadline. You can still do Priority Express through December 21st. So if you're somebody like me, especially when I was in my 20s and early 30s, and I waited to the last second on everything, you can still get that done up to December 21st by visiting GoMuskox.com. All right, so I'm guessing our hot takes are going to be a little bit Lions related, just based.
Maybe. Yeah.
What was funny about the listener hot takes, and we're going to get into all these, is a lot of people do them before the Lions. It's just the habit, and the Lions have been so irrelevant that makes sense to do. And then you get a bunch of them that came after, and I think that's where the conversation is.
But you can't blame Lions fans. I mean, we're still, even after today, I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, let's dig into these our hot takes, and then we'll do the listener hot takes. Why don't you go first?
All right. I don't know what to do. I hate this fucking franchise, right? I'm glad the Lions won today. I think we're going in the right direction. But what they do to me make me have to root for Jared Goff. I mean, is Jared Goff the real thing? I don't know. Has he done it on the road yet? Not really. I think the Lions won in spite of him. If he goes next week, to the Jets, it goes against the Jets next week in New York, he wins that game, throws like he did today, then I guess I have to buy in, right? Do I eat some crow? Because, listen, when I said Jared Goff was ass, if you watch the game, he was complete ass. I mean, I watched the guy last year throw it out of bounds, 4th and 2, 4th and 4, twice last year. It's just, I don't know if he's a guy that can take us to the Super Bowl, but can he take us to the playoffs? Playoffs? Sure.
So here's the thing. We've seen this before, right? And this will lead into my first hot take. We saw this in 1995 with Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell can get you to the playoffs. He can get you a hot offense for a few weeks.
Right.
He ain't a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And if you're younger and you don't remember the 95 season, we're watching it again right now. And you know who's waiting at the end of the day? Probably there's a freaking Philadelphia Eagles who creamed him back then. Anyway, but it's still,
that game was close too. I think that the Lions could beat anyone.
I'm talking about the Eagles. This year, yeah. But the playoffs, you remember, 95 were a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
My thing on Goff is this. Jared Goff can be the guy on one condition: a revolutionary contract. Unlike Deshaun Watson, who had the different kind of revolutionary contract, guy with 2 ACL tears, massage parlor issues, and you're going to give him $230 million guaranteed. Kind of dumb. The Jared Goff can be the guy. 6-year deal, all guaranteed, total $60 to $72 million.
What? 6-year deal?
No, but listen to that. That's less than 2 years. Like when you talk about the total value of a contract at like $72 million, that's like 2 years of his money now. So what I'm saying here is this: Jared Goff, like, he cannot have a contract at top tier prices because he's a guy who's very clear for him to win. At the bare minimum, we don't know if he can yet win a Super Bowl with anybody, but at the bare minimum, he is somebody who's going to have good players around him. He has to acknowledge that. And so you cannot eat up so much of the salary cap that you can't do that with him. You can build a great defense around a quarterback and you can win one Super Bowl, but those things never really sustain themselves. To win as a franchise over the course of a decade, you've got to have a guy who can make, chicken salad out of chicken shit sometimes, and that's not Jared Goff. So that's the guy you have to keep trying to find and draft unless the quarterback, because nobody else is going to give Jared Goff, I don't think, $25-30 million a year either. So unless you can convince him, this is your chance to be a starter of a Super Bowl caliber team. We'll give you guaranteed money. We'll give you security. It'll be like a $10-12 million a year contract. We'll give you 5 years, whatever it is. But it's got to be there.
Why would Goff do that? I mean, he's putting up the stats to get a better contract than $12 million a year.
Then he can go be on a shitty team and not work.
Yeah. I just think the quarterback situation in the NFL, I mean, you have to have a guy until you find a rookie that you want to. I just think maybe a 2-year contract. Can we start there? Give Goff maybe 2 years and draft a rookie, or I don't know. We need to find another quarterback. As long as you can tell me that we're going to find another quarterback and not in 6 years, I'm in. I guess I have to be in.
But see, here's the deal. If you do a 6-year deal with him and it's $10 million a year, you can cut bait at any time. Like, there's not as much dead cap money, right? It's a different deal. That's what I'm saying.
But again, I just don't think Goff would take that.
That's fine. Then go. That's what I'm saying. He has to acknowledge that he is a certain type of quarterback. Never again should you pay a Joe Flacco. Never again should you pay a Trent Dilfer big money, because those guys, they can win the Super Bowl for you if they have everything around them. But in the NFL, you get a window with everything around you that's maybe 2 or 3 years. Right. And then you have salary cap hell. You need a guy who can help you win when you're in salary cap hell. I know the Lions have never won a Super Bowl, and we'd all happily settle for one in that magical. But you don't want to be the Chicago Cubs either, where it looks like you're going to have a run of a few years. You get there, you have that magical moment, and then you're quickly wondering what the hell happened to that group. Like, that's what happens if Jared Goff is an overpaid quarterback with the Lions. If you're going to keep him, you got to be able to have flexibility in the salary cap and your ability to get rid of him.
And they pretty much dominated that game today. I mean, that's what you want to watch as a fan. I mean, it shocks us now because we never really see it, is that they got business done today. They dominated Minnesota. It's unbelievable. I just don't know what to do with myself. I sit there and I watch it, and I'm like, I don't know if I should get excited right now or not.
The next 2 weeks get real interesting, right, with the Jets and Panthers, because the Jets are pretty good.
But regardless of that, I mean, even if they don't make the playoffs, if they keep this momentum going, that's all Detroit fans ask for, is you give effort, you play your hardest, you don't get blown out. And that's what they're not doing.
What is your second hot take?
We got to figure out this Heisman Trophy presentation. I know you hate the Heisman Trophy ceremony, but the show is like 9 hours long. I forgot about – listen, I tuned in. I'm like, oh, this is the show, right? 2 hours pre-show. Does anyone – maybe Doug Warren? I think Doug Warren watches that because he's a football historian. But other than that, who watches this shit? We need to get a more – like cut it down, first of all, to like a half hour. There's no way you're selling that many ads for a 2-hour show.
Yeah, like, okay, so I have so many problems with the Heisman Trophy right now. It's a bad show, but why are we paying attention to it? Because here's the problem.
We like the Heisman Trophy.
Here's
the
problem.
The Heisman.
And this is one of my hot takes, too. I don't think it's going to be next, but I'll just go in. Football is the ultimate team game, and yet somehow we have created a quarterback-only award voted on by people who clearly don't know football, like me, Because all we do is I voted for 3 quarterbacks this year, and I'm kind of embarrassed about it. Like it's like that means we don't know the sport. Because in the ultimate team sport, there's no way that dude is the best player on the team all the time. And even on if you voted for C.J. Stroud, who I think is an incredible talent, doesn't mean he shouldn't be the first pick in the draft. But if you had him in your top 3, when that guy, when he got push came to shove in the biggest games of the year, didn't come through, what are you watching? Like, I'm sorry, and he has all the athletic advantage in the world. That guy is not a Heisman finalist. How does that happen? And so, like, Max Duggan, I get it. Like, there's a guy who is gritty as shit, got it done week after week. He was on my final ballot. I think Caleb Williams was pretty incredible. He was on my final ballot. I don't even remember my third guy at this point.
Hendon Hooker?
Yes, it was exactly that. It was Hendon Hooker, who before he got hurt was incredible. And it elevated a team to, I think, a level they hadn't been. So those were guys who belonged to have it. You could argue Michael Penix belonged in there, certainly belonged in there over C.J. Stroud, to me, as a Heisman finalist based on the people around him and the situations. But ultimately, we got to have people who know football well enough to say, but you know what's really happening? This left tackle, Jack Conklin, has kept his ass up all week. Like, why would Connor Cook ever be a Heisman candidate over Jack Conklin? Should never happen. Should never, ever, ever, ever happen. And if it's going to happen, then we get rid of the goddamn award.
So you want an offensive lineman to be able to win the Heisman?
I want variety in the finalists.
Well, then you have to get rid of the award if you're going to do that.
That's fine. Let's do that.
Or if it's a defensive player, I would think a defensive player will never win. But it's just a running back who has a crazy season. They really don't even sniff the Heisman Trophy really either.
Yeah, no. Let's just acknowledge it's a quarterback award, either that, or just take away its prestige and stop giving it prestige. Like, I don't care about it. I don't watch it.
Though. I mean, like, if you hear the word Heisman, you go, "Oh, okay, this is it feels like a big deal."
Don't put it in your Twitter bio because it's embarrassing. It's like
vote if you have a vote.
It's like saying you're incompetent at something because we're clearly incompetent voting for this. So if you're saying you have a Heisman vote, you're saying I'm incompetent at something. That's what you're saying. That's all I'm saying. Quit. That's my Heisman take for the. I'm over the Heisman Trophy.
So how do you fix it? I guess.
Well, to me, it's you have a smaller group of people selecting it. People who are really honed in on football. People who retired journalists and people of the Eblings of the world are good types of people who watch an awful lot of football.
Stay up all night and watch every game.
You've got to have rules. You got to be retired. You got to be divorced. You can't have kids of a certain age. You can't have a life.
Well, if you're divorced, you don't have much time to yourself because you're going out all the time.
Well, then
life
you got to
now.
Yeah, you got to.
You want married guys that need to get out of the house.
Okay, whatever it is,
watch a bunch of
games. You got to watch enough football. That's what it really comes down to. However you figure that out in your life, and find a group of like 40 to 50 people tops.
And I agree with you. I mean, you have a lot of terrible takes, but this is one of your better ones because it's true, though. If you go and you're going to ask a sports writer, a columnist that watches one team and goes to a Saturday to that game, it takes up all day.
Yeah.
So if you sit there and watch ESPN, I don't think that really gives you, a clear shot of who's supposed to be there. I don't.
All right, what is your third take?
Well, speaking of TV, Graham, I had a lot of TV this weekend. And last night was the match with Tiger Woods, Rory, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. I love golf. I forgot that it was on last night. I mean, thank God for Harry tweeting it out, or else I would have forgot about it. If we're going to get, change the Heisman show, we got to change this match. I mean, I could watch Tiger Woods hit golf balls all day long. But the problem is, do you get outside fans that don't really care about golf? Is it interesting to them? Because, man, I got to say, I watched the whole thing last night, and it's kind of boring. I mean, a 12-hole kind of thing, it's interesting, but you have to, I just don't know what you have to do to it. And it was, I follow all of that stuff, and I didn't know about it.
And the timing is bad because the casual sports fan who sort of tries to take all in really busy times of years, but maybe doesn't love golf, right, or doesn't love whatever, their bandwidth is already being stretched by the World Cup, which had on Saturday, a huge day of, 2 quarterfinal matches. And so like that, it's just too much this time of year. It's just unfortunate. It's a year you don't need it right now. There's enough going on. We got all this college football. We got the NFL. We got all this college basketball.
And I think people that just like Tiger would tune in, but you're not gonna. I just doubt you're gonna hang that long with it.
Yeah,
you don't really love golf like I do.
Hit us up in January because I got other things. January, it's cold. There's less stuff happening. You got the NFL playoffs, which is as big as anything, but. Yeah. But it's nice
to take a break from the football and all the other basketball stuff.
I'm just saying, you get like France, England, which even the common I know a lot of people, and we joke about soccer guy on here, but I know a lot of people who you're talking about quarterfinal. That seemed like a big match. That was something that was within the realm of a casual sports fan on Saturday, right? That's something taking up time. And so you got to pick your spots to squeeze in. All right, before I get to my my third take, my MSU basketball take here, some new products from Muskox, lined flannels and beanies that are made from, and I love this, I get this wrong every time, but it's Kiviute of Jasper. I think I did that right. It's almost like you and what do you say? What's that one word you can't say?
Cockburn.
That one. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it shows the Kiviute shows Muskot's commitment to wildlife. These fibers are hand combed, and this means the fiber is not shorn or pulled, but combed from the fleece whenever the season is ready for it. And it's very cool. Sometimes farmers even only pick up the fleece. They get stuck on bushes and small trees. Muskox even have holiday flannels. Have holiday flannels that have recently arrived as well. Marine plaid, red plaid, dust blue, navy plaid, ocean blue. And that is one that I have just purchased, the ocean blue. Love it. If you go to gomuskox.com, you can look as good as I will when that thing arrives. These are not cheesy holiday patterns, just great stuff for the winter and holiday season. And as we say before, like one of the best ways to support us and our show is to support our sponsors. And you guys do an amazing job of doing that, and you always have, and we really appreciate that. You can do that by making Muskox part of your holiday and holiday gift purchases. You take care of Muskox. Muskox will take care of you. It's an incredibly comfortable, durable, high-quality flannel. Go to gomuskox.com. That's GOMUSKOX.com to order yours today and learn more about them. And again, CAW15 is the promo code for $15 off. All right, my third hot take.
Freshman thoughts?
Freshman thoughts, just for everybody. Let's do 10 minutes on Jackson Kohler. No, it's watching Jaden Akins in the last two games and watching A.J. Hogard in the last two games. It's very clear to me the effect of Jaden Akins on Hogard, on that backcourt as a whole, on the team as a whole, and what it does for that group defensively, who they become. Jaden Akins is still figuring himself out offensively, although he hit some threes the other day, but he's not, he dribbled all over his feet a little bit. He's not there yet. But defensively, they had a really good showing at Penn State, which I think showed up even more when you see what Penn State did to Illinois on the road, and they hit like 10 of their first 17 threes. And then the game against Brown, and it's Brown. It's a mid-major team that's not even in the top of its league. But those are games where it might have been a little more of a struggle than the suffocation that it was if Michigan State wasn't playing better defensively. And they're just playing a lot better defensively the last couple games. I think that's Jaden Akins related. And when he's out, we have all these sort of, I myself have takes. Everybody has takes. We have this analysis of this team, and we're just not getting a full picture. And I think the same has to be said for Malik Hall. And we can do a lot of hot takes, and we have to, everything we judge is going to be the moment in front of us, and you try to deduct what you can. But I think with this team, we have to wait till Malik Hall's back. Wait till he's had a couple games back. They've got to stay healthy. But when they get Jaden Akins back for a month and Malik Hall back for a couple games, then let's see what they are again. Because you have to remember who they were at the beginning of the year. And defensively, I think they were really good. That's the one thing Izzo thought they were elite. I don't think they're that, again, quite yet. But they've had two really quality defensive performances, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that it happened in the second and third games back for Jaden Akins. And what that does, the pressure it takes off the other point guards, the more options they have, the less time that they're playing Pierre Brooks, who's not as good defensively. There's just a lot of things that they just become better because most of the time, two good defensive guards are on the court now, and sometimes three. So that was something that really stood out to me the last two games. It played out again with Brown. I think Michigan State's in a much better place, obviously, but I think sort of letting that roster get back to full bore and seeing what they are is worth doing.
How cool was it with Wojcik and his son, though? That's got to be an awesome
That's pretty
feeling,
sweet,
right?
I like when
your kid's getting a free ride to Brown.
Teams do that a lot, where they usually do it with kids who've been recruited from some other area, and you play out there. You go play a game so their parents can be nearby and come. And you see that with connections all the time. It was, and unfortunately for Paxton Wojcik, like he had Jaden Akins on him a lot, and Akins was locked in, and that was a tough shooting day. He's not a great shooter. They really shut down the other kid. Their leading scorer had no shot against that Michigan State team, and that's what you want to do when you're playing Brown. That should be a comfortable win. You should be able to suffocate them.
When you're playing Brown, you should see Steven Izzo.
And you did see Steven Izzo.
Damn, I want him to get a shot.
People were starting.
Dude, Treese came out of the other room to watch the TV because Steven Izzo was in. Let him shoot, Tom. Jesus.
So
can we run a play for him?
It was funny, though. The student section started chanting for him at like the 7:30 mark of the game. I'm like, it's a little early for Steven Izzo. This guy didn't start at Lansing Catholic. Let's, hold your horses on Steven Izzo for sure. All right, should we dig? Let's dig right into these listener hot takes.
Yep, let's do it. Eric Schultz up first. Number 1, maybe these aren't the same old Lions. 2, only Graham can consistently say that MSU basketball has won itself into another tier and then also say everything's okay when they don't sniff that tier for 3 years, especially when all I heard a year ago was that this was a 2-year group. 3, got to get some recruits pledged to MSU for football and fast.
Yeah, the numbers are low, and we're getting close to the 21st. That is going to be an interesting – what's going to be interesting is, like, the 21st is not the end-all, be-all signing day. There's another one in February. But nowadays, most people seem to sign, 80% of their class at least at this point. Doesn't mean you have to. But if they're only at, like, 15 kids, I'll be very curious to see what Mel Tucker's reasoning is for it. And maybe he's got a good one. Maybe he's got a plan. And the one thing he's, I think, done, I think he's done the recruiting at a decent level and sort of on course with what he said. But this is a low number of guys to have. I can't remember in the D'Antonio era, not having more than this. And that was even when it wasn't a signing day until February. Well, that's not true. There were some years that a lot of guys came in January. But nonetheless, getting close. I totally agree with Eric. And the 2-year group thing, I don't want to call this group a 2-year group either, because I think that's not
3-year.
No. What I mean is it's too much of it's arriving next year. You can't call something a 2-year group if half the group isn't there yet.
Don't coach my team.
But I do think next year has a chance to be a.
It's going to be great.
I mean, when you just look at the kids they got coming in, if the right guys stay, has a chance to be a really special group. But the criticism is warranted, Eric. I appreciate you.
Dominic next. Number 1, bringing back this entire MSU football staff is unacceptable. 2, Tony Dombrowski's mom walked in on him during the Panay Sewell reception, and it's already up on Pornhub, sadly. 3, split pea soup and girls 5 Eva is unacceptable.
Yeah, playing on my dislike for the term unacceptable. I appreciate you, Dominic. And by the way, split pea soup and girls 5 Eva is not unacceptable. But
split pea soup is, you can't defend that. You have to just go, I enjoy it. I understand why people don't.
Right.
You can't get people on the split
I'm
pea
not
soup
trying
train.
to push split pea soup on people.
I know, but you said it's great.
I think it's great to me. I like split pea soup.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Anything you could ever eat, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm not saying it's my favorite.
I mean, Brittany Griner was eating split pea soup.
Well, then put me in a Russian prison.
That's where you
I don't know. Yeah,
you'd survive.
No, I wouldn't.
Like, man, this is great. I love the entertainment.
I don't mean to make light of that, but it's.
She's home now.
Yeah,
For the Merchant of Death.
Hey, do what you got to do. You get Americans home. I'm glad she's home. And we'll see what the MSU football staff. Again, I do not think if those decisions are going to be made, and I think this is going to happen year after year. I think you're going to see more and more of it after Christmas, early January. I just think that's going to become much more the timeline for staffs that are not new staffs, because it's that signing day and the transfer portal window comes so quick, and you can't be dithering around and making staff changes at that point.
DUper next. Number 1, if Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson can win a Super Bowl, then so can Jared Goff. Like I told my wife before I proposed, it's time to stop looking for Mr. Right and settle for Mr. Right now. I hear that. 2, all I want for Christmas is Keon Coleman to drop 40 on Michigan, and Malik Carr goes for a double-double. Tom Izzo ends the game screaming, "This is my fucking city." And the January 7th game is such a beatdown that Eli Savitt wants to press charges.
These are well done to you. And would have been up for the Hopcat hot take of the day, but he's won it before. So the couple things I thought about. You know what I'm thinking about replacing the freshman thoughts with and the quick takes? Just Keon Coleman thoughts as soon as he joins the team. I think people would read those for a little while.
Why not?
If he gets in. I mean, he's got to play, right? It only works in games he plays.
It'd be kind of weird.
Just thinking about Keon as he's sitting there on the bench. But so I'm with you on the Dilfer and Brad Johnson and a lot of those guys.
But they had crazy defenses.
Correct. And you can't – those are hard to maintain. I'm not saying they can't do it.
I mean, all-time defense.
You can't commit to them forever. I'm not saying you have to get rid of him after this year. It would be stupid to part ways with him for a rookie quarterback because, then you might lose all this momentum. You bring in a rookie and have him, if he becomes a star, then let him.
I don't think Jared Goff wants to go anywhere, and I don't think the Lions want Jared Goff to go anywhere for the short term.
No.
Right?
He's under contract next year. Okay. You don't have to do anything. And that gives you some time. And so when I talk about my revolutionary contract, that's down the road. Like if you decide to commit to this guy, it can't be for what he's making now. It's too big a percentage of the salary cap. That's not gonna work long term.
Kevin from Rochester Hills. Number 1, the Rube is no longer dead inside. 2, Dan Campbell is the best coach in the NFL. And 3, Penei Sewell is the greatest receiver ever to play.
These are our Hopcat hot takes of the day, by the way. Good stuff from Kevin from Rochester Hills. Best damn beer bar, and, of course, world-famous Cosmic Fries, a.k.a. Crack Fries. Award-winning burgers, including the Peyton Thorne burger and the carefully curated craft beer from local partners, which I think is really cool that they do. Great place to watch MSU basketball, watch the bowl season, catch the end of the World Cup. And just a fantastic place right in downtown East Lansing. So you can live kind of the East Lansing student life, so to speak, without hanging out. You know what I like about Hopcat is you feel kind of young in that area, but you're not really in line with the students to get into the clubs.
You're not perceived as a narc.
Well, and you're just not. You're not.
That's what happened to me when I was 30 and I went to a party on campus, and I was like, all right, I'm retired now.
They thought you were a narc?
Yeah, all the kids. Well, dude, I was wearing a leather coat. I was 30. I mean, Jesus, what was I doing?
Yeah, I went to a pajama party on near Western's campus, or Western students were hosting in a house near the neighborhood I lived in. When I was 28, and
Jesus,
and I did not wear pajamas because that was the one line. It was like, this would be weird. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
But you have to fit in. I mean, you stand out worse. I mean,
at 28 though, age-wise, I could still pull it off a little bit. But it was still, I felt awkward.
Yeah.
Left pretty early. It was not great.
Thank God the narc is gone. Oh,
yeah,
let's have some fun now.
But if you're 28 or 30 and you want to go someplace that they'll welcome you and you feel like you should be there, Hopcat your spot. And also they have Hopcats throughout the state of Michigan, even in Indianapolis, but Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Detroit. Go to hopcat.com to find the Hopcat location nearest you, and including, of course, the one here in East Lansing.
Curtis Cakeley next.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to get into Kevin's hot takes, though. We called him the hot. So are you no longer dead inside is the question I want to start with.
Currently, I'm alive. But I don't know what to do with myself, that's all. I just don't want to get my hopes up. I mean, I'm excited. I was glad to see today, especially after last weekend. I missed the game against the Jags. And so, yeah, I guess I'm alive. I don't know. Why shouldn't I be, I guess?
It's kind of fun. I mean,
it's great to look forward to a Lions game.
I know.
I'm addicted to it.
I watched the whole thing today. It was like I haven't done that. I mean, I've done that for a couple weeks carrying now.
I don't like shitting on my favorite teams.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy any of it.
And the Penei Sewell play was fun. That was cool. And he is such an athlete. And I love that he just dove forward to stay in bounds.
And I love after the guy tried coming at him, he tried swiping him away like a grizzly bear. It's like, what are we doing? It's like, this is happening?
This is fun.
Real?
This is fun.
Curtis Cakeley next. Number 1, a tight end trade and a fired secondary coach turned the Lions into a scary team. Not sure how that happens, but someone tell Mel to go call Dan Campbell for pointers. 2, though it feels like it right now, the chasm between, is that right?
Yes.
The chasm between football programs, my brain didn't register, in the Big Ten East isn't as large as you think. MSU is in the playoff in 2024. 3, listening to the MSU fan base pre-Penn State game was brutal. They are 7-4, 4-3 without Malik Hall after one of the toughest non-conference schedules we've had in my lifetime. Izzo is Mr. March for a reason. Relax and take a Sky Mint.
Skyman is always good, but I would say for the MSU fan base right now, Skyman is especially good.
I take it Curtis doesn't take Skymint? Take a Skymint?
Well, I take
How do you do that?
You would take an edible. Let's take a Skymint.
Okay.
If you're doing it, that's what I would say. I would say take a Skymint.
You say that?
I would say I'm going to have a Skymint, yeah, or have an edible. Well, I don't, yeah, but you replace Skymint for the word edible and it works. And I think is we deal with, is you deal with this sort of changing, MSU basketball team, and then as for a lot of folks, the Michigan football team in the playoff, I would say this would be a good time to get onto the Skymint train. The 2024 playoff thing isn't completely out of whack because in 2024 it's going to be a 12-team playoff. So keep that in mind. So they would just have to be like a Penn State is this year to be in that conversation in 2024, which isn't completely out of the realm. I think next year is going to be tough. But the idea is you'd see improvement by 2024. 2025 is the year I've said it's fair to judge them against Ohio State as well.
Max Spade next. Number one, it's been a while since we've had a satisfying sports weekend in Spartan Nation. Feels good. Two, hate to disappoint you, but Jared Goff ain't going anywhere. He's Brad Holmes' guy. And three, Graham is a patient man. Bonus, Panay Sewell. Why are you patient?
I don't know. This is something. I mean, it's just the different takes and opinions and whatever. I don't know. I enjoy this. I love our listeners.
There's no context to it, so you're just guessing.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It's either that or he saw me in like a line at, Horrocks or something, and I was just taking a while. And
sushi.
Yeah, and that's always possible. I don't know if he's Brad Holmes' guy, though. I mean, I know he made the move for him, but he made the move for him to get a draft pick. I don't know that makes him Brad Holmes' guy. I think Brad Holmes is going to get what he needs out of this when he gets a pretty high draft pick from the Rams this year. Like that's the sort of justification of that move, and the fact that Matt Stafford's career has fallen off so quickly, perhaps, and his health has been an issue. I mean, the Rams got what they needed out of it. They got a Super Bowl, but it's looking like a better and better trade. I don't know that makes Goff the guy. I don't mind them keeping Goff. I just don't want them to commit to him long term because I think you need a guy who can. And I want them to start looking at drafting a quarterback. And if it's not
you were talking 6-year contract.
Well, no, 6-year contract for $72 million, but that's like a 2-year deal at $36 million. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's not hard to at $10 million a year. That would be a way of saying, hey, we will commit to you as a quarterback, but that leaves us the cap space to build a team around you consistently and not have that fall off, to juke the system. That's what I'm saying.
Mojo Jojo. Number one, Dan Campbell may know what he's doing. Two, MSU fans need to chill. We're playing with house money given next year's recruiting class coming in. Three, Buffalo mac and cheese is a top-tier Skymint food.
Oh, I would say so, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my God, mac and cheese.
I do love mac and cheese. Who doesn't love
with
mac and
Buffalo?
Cheese? You know, one of the best things, speaking of Buffalo, they have a thing called the garbage plate in Buffalo. If you're ever in Buffalo, get a garbage plate. Look it up. Lots of places serve it. And it's like macaroni on top of some sort of meat patty with bread and ketchup. It's incredible. It's especially if you've been drinking a lot. It's incredible. But it's also great with Skyman.
Sure, the next morning is awesome, too.
Yeah, maybe do it before 7 p.m.
Next, Kevin Cakeley. Number one, the Lions are no longer background noise for a nice Sunday afternoon nap. The Lions will win their first playoff game since 1992. Two, Washtenaw County will be opening investigations into MSU hockey for the brutal gang-style beating that occurred after the game. Three, having a high hand pot in poker tournament and hitting a straight flush on the fourth hand really takes the pressure off the rest of the night.
Does that do that? Is that what happened?
What? I don't know. He played in a poker tournament. I guess he hit a straight flush.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice weekend. There was a fight at the end of the Michigan State-Michigan hockey game, and I get this is again why you don't want to go down the slippery slope of charges in the arena.
Was John U. Bacon there?
Because even though Michigan State was in the tunnel, this was after the game, and this was
Solari there with his cell phone?
He was not there with his cell phone. I was at Solari's that night, but he was not at the actually, it was not that night. It was the next night. But
oh, good.
Yeah, I don't know why I shared that. I hate when people do that too. That's why I suck at this. It's like inside, like nobody listening to this like needed that tidbit of information that I was wrong on.
That's the only fault you have when you're telling a story. You just get too into the details.
Oh, it's the worst. So I'm walking with my mom, even tonight, and we do like a neighborhood walk every day at least.
Yeah.
I'm such a worse storyteller because of her. Like I can see it. It's hereditary, and it's also the fact that during the pandemic and since, I have taken 1,400 walks with this woman who tells stories leaving out critical details or explaining with too much detail. Like, and I can see it. It's the same spider web telling of a story that I do, and it didn't used to be the way I was. It's gotten worse. It's my mom's fault. And then my wife.
You're saying you need therapy now, or
no? And then it's my wife's fault because when I tell a story that's this bad, her eyes gloss over and I lose my confidence and she looks away. So between the two of them,
but you're not bad. It's just you get too deep into the minutia of details, like
it's just
what street you're on, if you took a left or a right. It's
it's not great.
But you can get over.
The point being, if you're not going to prosecute violent hockey fights at the end of games, you probably shouldn't do things that are in the tunnel.
Was it violent? The hockey fight?
I mean, it was a hockey fight. But there was a stick to a neck, sort of thing. Like to what level are we? Again, slippery slope. Just be, that's what I would say with that.
Ron Quixote next. Number 1, it's a Sunday morning in December, and I'm nervous about a Lions game. I like being nervous. It's good to feel something as opposed to my general numbness by this point. Hear that? 2, early signing day is less than 2 weeks away, and MSU has like 9 commits. Bold strategy. No notes, Tuck.
It is a strategy. I don't think they've lost a couple of guys too, although some of these guys have been players it's been sort of a mutual parting of the ways.
Is there a strategy?
There must be. I haven't talked to Mel Tucker since I didn't even go to the Penn State game because I was out in Portland. So I haven't talked to Mel Tucker since I saw him very briefly, but I was on my way somewhere at the basketball game, and he was sitting next to Barry Sanders. That's a cool experience. By the way, Barry Sanders walks in front of me after the game, and I just
Why
stopped writing. Yeah, I did. We nodded at each other because he's standing right over my keyboard. And you know how I feel about Barry Sanders. Like Barry Sanders, Ron Banks, they're like
told him that.
7 people in the world who are you're as big a deal as Ron Banks to me. I'm sure he would have got that.
We gave each other a head nod. Hey man,
I don't know what that is. Yeah,
fellow athlete.
I once used
Grant Long.
I once scored 7 or 8 points on him I once used one of your moves on my Aunt Claudia in a front yard Thanksgiving Day football game, and it worked. Thanks, Barry.
Aunt Claude. She always falls for the juke.
Yeah. I don't know what the strategy is. I'm curious to hear from him.
Pray.
And no, I don't think it's that. But I do think there is something to the idea that if you are trying to build your program to a certain level, they are trying not to settle. And I also think one of the things you're going to see, and you're starting to see this with some of the Texas A&M kids and other places, some of these early NIL commitments and signings that happened are falling apart. And there are a lot more interesting kids on the portal that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And so I think there may be some younger guys that they're getting in the portal. Like to this point, most of the guys, not all of them, Jalen Berger's a younger guy, but a lot of the guys have been older players that they brought in. I think that may change a little bit too.
Chris King next. I think the MSU versus Michigan rivalry and how toxic it's been perceived is mainly because of social media and Twitter. At the hockey game Friday with fans in real life and not able to hide behind anonymous accounts, I saw nothing but respect between the two fan bases.
Yeah, if Twitter died tomorrow, everything gets a lot better because people generally in real life, face-to-face, are courteous to each other. They're more respectful, and it's just different than hiding behind a keyboard when people's anger gets the best of them. There are a lot of people who are angry in this world. There are a lot of people who don't have a lot going on. I can see it in people's tweets about Michigan and Michigan State, that these are people who don't have a lot of power in their lives. They don't have a lot of people who listen to them or love them, and so they take it out on Twitter. But when you're in a hockey game and somebody's nice to you and you're in line and you're a fan of another school getting an ice cream cookie sandwich or something,
Get out of the way, dick.
Yeah,
shove them.
Yeah.
Start something.
You're not going to call somebody, you smug prick, you're not going to do that. Like, it's just, if Twitter died tomorrow, we'd figure another way to interact on this show, and the world in a lot of ways would get better.
Eric Larson with this one. Big Ten regular season champ will win with 6 losses. If you only have 5, you win outright.
I think, when you watch what happened the other day with Penn State beating Illinois on the road, and you look at some of the Purdue narrowly beating Nebraska, you realize, first of all, there's only one shitty team in the Big Ten, and that's Minnesota. There's only one guaranteed win. That's going to lead to a long couple months of games that are close. Teams are going to have bad shooting nights. Penn State is a team that's going to be hot or cold. They're going to beat some really good people. They're going to lose to some crappy people. And I tend to agree with this, that there's going to be a lot of parity and near the top of the league.
Mr. Ben Jen up next. Pierre Brooks is not good. Pirouettes is in no man's land, giving Brown an open 3 to go up early. Screaming red-face Izzo knows that sucks. So do I, and so do you.
So a couple things on Pierre Brooks. He is not always the greatest defensive player. He gets lost occasionally. There have been a couple threes that look like they're shot over him where that was not his man, and I do know that, where he's the guy trying to recover. But in that defense, it was Trey Holloman or it was somebody else. And so it's not always the guy who winds up running at the shooter late. But the one thing I think that's important for Brooks, and you see it, like there was a moment in that game where he had a great offensive rebound, then he went after another, and anyway, like when Brooks puts his head down and just decides, I'm going to go get rebounds, I'm a 6'6", 230-pound man who can do that. Like, he becomes an impact player beyond his shooting, and he's got to be that all the time. And I don't know if he'll ever be a great defender, but he can be an impact player in a lot of ways, and they need him to be that. They need his motor to be constant, and it's not always defensively.
Professor next. There is nothing worse than a work holiday party at a bowling alley. How am I supposed to maintain the power dynamic when I'm struggling to break 75?
That's fair.
And bonus, Big Ten Network play-by-play guys seem to be getting worse and worse. Is there no young talent in the play-by-play game?
I haven't noticed this.
Dude, I have a friend, Ben Holden. I used to work with him at Channel 10. He does stuff.
By the way, he says hello. I just ran into him at the Michigan State-Minnesota hockey game
awesome.
a week ago. I was supposed to say hi.
Ben's a great guy and awesome at play-by-play. And I just I know he could do it. So it's Big Ten Network just blows my mind with how shitty it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's
should be better.
They do lose their top dudes, like the Robbie Hummel guy. Those guys move on. But although he's a color commentator. It's not something I paid a lot of attention to. I will start. That is there like not being able to shoot a 75 in a bowling game at a holiday party? Would that ruin your mojo if you were like sort of a bigwig in the office?
Well, not if you suck at bowling. I don't think I'd really care if you're just having fun and I don't know. 75 is a pretty shitty score though.
It is a bad score.
So maybe you're hammered or something. I don't know. But all right, Sports Guy 1919. Scammers are ass. Had a guy act like he was interested in purchasing our TV stand on Marketplace. He blocked my wife after she gave him our address. Now my wife won't sleep at night.
That is ass. Well, how do you... Okay.
Well, let me ask.
Yeah.
But why would you be scared? Why would he block her? If he was going to come to your house and possibly do something, why would he block you first? I think he would act like everything's normal and come over. And
maybe, but...
And by the way, you meet at a parking lot like Panera, something like that, to sell stuff.
Yeah, don't do the address thing. Yeah, no, my wife once picked up, we have like a cool old school newspaper stand at the Lansing State Journal that we keep stuff in on our back patio. And she bought it on either Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or someplace like that. And she went and met, some random dude off in some parking lot in some random town. I remember thinking, this is not a great idea. But
you watch too much Dateline.
Yeah, but I it's not great when
most people
like
just want a TV stand. To be honest.
Yeah, but if it's a scam, like I get this. Like now you can't contact him, and he has your address, and it looks like he's up to something. I get
get bear spray like I have.
Elizabeth would not sleep well either with this sort of thing. I hope you have like a Ring doorbell or something you can keep an eye if anybody's snooping around the house. That stuff helps with peace of mind. And the other thing, if he hasn't blocked you, maybe you can find this guy, and maybe you can either reach out about this or act like try to communicate with him. And I don't really
piss him off even more. He probably forgot about it, and then you should message him and go,
no, but it's
what
like
the fuck's up, bro?
But it's like when
you gonna buy our TV stand or not?
It's like when a scammer, when somebody wants you to send them $10,000 for the for a princess or something like that, over in Bangladesh. God. Like the best thing to do with those people is just fuck with them back. Be like, actually, I got a plan. If you send me $5,000, then from there I can send you the $10,000, but I've got to wash it through some stuff here. Like if you just start fucking with them, they'll get upset. But I'm not saying you should do that.
They hang up easy.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should do that here. But here I would get a Ring doorbell and I would try to communicate with him if I were you.
And why did he block you guys?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Weird going on?
That's what I'm saying. That's what they're worried about. Yeah.
Matt Venny next. Number one, MSU could have the 2019 LSU team on their roster and not win a single postseason award. Two, the MSU-Michigan hockey rivalry is more intense than the basketball one. Three, college refs would find a way to fuck up 6 fouls if they were to be implemented. And bonus, autocorrect is ass.
Autocorrect is ass.
Especially on iPhones.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I hate the autocorrect on this. It makes me almost want to go back to Samsung.
Well, and also just learn my language. If I always write something, like even the, we have a guy, Tucker Tarleson is one of our regular hot take people and listeners and Twitter questioners. I can't get that autocorrect to stop. It's a pain in the ass in the program I use. It's always, always switch right to Tucker Carlson. To number 2 here from Matt, though, the MSU U of M hockey rivalry is more intense than the basketball one. I think, like the football rivalry, what you have in the MSU-Michigan hockey rivalry is a rivalry that's rarely been on equal footing. And one side's been up with the other. Michigan State dominated that rivalry in the 80s and early 90s. Just really, it was pretty impressive. And Michigan's had it for a while. And so when that happens, it creates, there's one side wants it back. One side's trying to hold on to something. There is some venom. I think in basketball, what you have now is, even though Michigan State took over for a while, for a decade, you've had 2 fairly even programs where not one single game can ever really say anything about the rivalry, about one side being on top of the other. Michigan State could beat Michigan twice this year. Doesn't matter. Michigan and Michigan State basketball are still on pretty equal footing. Michigan, it could vice versa. It's just there's no way to one up the other by winning a single game. And you also had for a long time 2 pretty coaches that respected each other, quite a bit, in Beeline and Izzo, and I think that sort of cooled things down a little bit. Frankly, I enjoy it given what's going on in football. But I agree with you on the MSU-Michigan hockey one.
Greeny Green 777. Number 1, MSU has the most mentally fragile fan base, and it's not close. 2, the Lions finished with 4 wins out of their last 5 games, but missed the playoffs. And 3, state football ends up with a top 10 recruiting class in 2024 with 2 5-stars.
MSU has the most mentally fragile fan base, and it's not close. What do you think of that statement?
I don't see it. I guess I don't talk to the mentally fragile fan base. Or I don't really see much of it, nor do I see other fan bases.
There is an inferiority complex that exists and will always be there. But I would guess there are fan bases that have the same dynamics in certain ways.
I talk to realistic state fans. I'm not just saying that.
One of the things that's hurt a little bit is you do have, you literally have a guy who calls himself the chief of propaganda now, but you have more propaganda on the fan base. So you have more swings of emotion. You have people just out there promoting and building up MSU, and then when something doesn't go right, it's like, well, what the fuck is that? There's less dialogue, there's less reasonability, throughout. So I think the big problem is Twitter. But beyond that,
sound like Izzo.
Well, it's just message boards were the same thing before that, but I don't know that it's any different than any other place.
Andrew Gauthier next. Number 1, France versus England was and will be the best and most entertaining match in this World Cup. 2, the Lions will secure the wild card spot in Lambeau. And 3, Hugo Lloris was the man of the match versus England, and Harry Kane will have nightmares about that penalty kick for the rest of his life.
Yeah, no, I watched that game with Andrew at Front 43 with Andrew Monica. Yeah,
name
dropping. Yeah, it was a good. It was entertaining match. I wanted England to win, but in England, I thought for quite a bit it was the better side. The Lions will clinch this or secure the wild card spot in Lambeau. Here's the thing. Hold on. Give me some Hoff really quick.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. Woo! Esperos inodicinale wa. Woo! I don't know the words, but I love it. Okay. So when you start to look at the playoff standings, and this is where not being dead inside, this is where it's fun. To be in the middle of December, and in terms of the Lions looking at the standings for the playoffs, that's cool. I mean, there's no doubt about that. That's cool. So you're getting 3 wild card teams in. The Cowboys are taking one of those spots, almost certainly at 10-3. So there are 2 spots left for the Commanders, Giants, both 7-5-1, the Seahawks at 7-6, the Lions at 6-7, and there are a couple teams under them still in play as well. But basically, they have 3 teams in front of them, and they've got to pass 2 of them to get into the playoffs. The Commander and Giants play each other, might take care of itself. The Seahawks, losing to the Seahawks hurts the Lions big time. And so
But I say you don't worry about it, and you just watch, root for a win every Sunday.
Totally. And without Kenneth Walker, the Seahawks just lost today to Carolina, and they're just not the same club. And they've still got, this is who the Seahawks have. This is why the Lions might make the playoffs. Seahawks next week play the 49ers, who are playing as well as anybody right now. The week after that, they go to Kansas City. Not great for Seattle. Then they host the Jets, who are still going to be in it and are a really good team. Now, the Lions have to play the Jets, too, and they finish with the Rams, who are bad. You don't want it to come down to that game. But the Seahawks could very easily drop 3 of those games. And so it may not need that. If the Lions win out, they're going to make the playoffs, I think. The question for me is, can they drop a game and still make the playoffs? And that's what I don't know.
Nick Palmer next. Number 1, Texas A&M shows that recruiting rankings are junk. Shows Tuck can't put all of his eggs in the recruiting basket. 2, the transfer portal is both entertaining to watch, but really bad for college football. And 3, I hope Santa understands what caw-caw means when he brings me my T-shirt.
The transfer portal is entertaining and bad. It's not bad in its concept, but what's happening doesn't work. And having that sort of movement, it's just there's so many kids who are getting left out in the cold, and so many kids who are being taught not to.
But isn't this what happens when you don't have a plan? You just kind of go, okay, transfer portal, let's try it.
Yeah, and it's the problem is this is ultimately 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are largely pretty stupid, and I want to say
emotional
and impatient.
Yeah,
and so that's. The beauty of the old system where you had to sit out a year is they had to think about that. If this is truly not right for me and I need to go somewhere else, I can do that, but then I got to sit out. Okay, well, it's worth doing because this is not the right situation. I'm going to go somewhere else. But it stopped the impatient emotional reaction. It stopped the guy largely who was being yelled at in practice. It stopped the guy who was unwilling to work through something that was hard. And that's what you have, and it's just not good. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the sport in a lot of ways. It is entertaining, and I don't know what the course correction is or how it's fixed. Again, to me, the only way it ever changes, because you talk about cat being out of the bag, is it has to be player voices. It has to be some sort of player union type thing, player association that says this actually isn't working. It's taking away opportunities from high school kids. Tons of fewer kids are graduating. This isn't good for us, and so we need to figure out how do we do something that's a little bit better for us. We're going to take a really quick break. We'll come back with tons more of your hot takes. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Muskox High Quality Flannels.
Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to the best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts. Guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official supporter of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne burger, created by the man himself. And don't forget about Spartan basketball. Hopcat is your pre-game headquarters for basketball all season long. Catch the game at any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com. Ever wondered just how comfortable you can be? Find out with Muskox High Quality Flannels. Muskox is a Detroit-based company that creates durable comfort that'll last a lifetime. Muskox flannels are thoughtfully designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. This will be the softest flannel you'll ever buy, guaranteed. For every $100 purchase, Muskox will donate $10 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com.
When it's your moment, that once-in-a-lifetime moment, you don't just want jewelry. You can get that anywhere. You want a memory that will go down in history, your moment. We're metalware, crafted with exquisite style, quality, and love, so your present will be stunning every time you look at it, every time someone notices it, and they will notice. We've devoted our lives to this art, and we're proud to share it with you. The gift you want to give is here.
Metalware Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, Portage, and Brighton.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Oh, yeah. Okay, everybody, you all know this one.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, with some great deals through Monday, by the way, on Skymint Reserve products. Buy two, get one free. Some mix and match offerings there, edibles, all sorts of cool stuff, pre-rolls. And that's every Skymint location. If you've never been to Skymint before, feel free to use the Couch in the Rube promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off. Go to skymint.com, find the nearest Skymint location, and Skymint delivers in many communities. You can find out there if they deliver to you. All right, back to your hot takes.
Jonathan B. next. Number one, it isn't good to lose 4 defensive linemen who all saw the field this year to the portal. 2, as a theater and Hallmark Christmas movie fan, Much Ado About Christmas on Peacock is a must-see.
So Much Ado About Christmas is a takeoff of the Shakespeare Much Ado About Nothing, which is a great play and movie, by the way. But yeah, I've got to check it out. And Jonathan B. and I clearly are of one mind. Theater and Hallmark Christmas movie.
Was he at
fan.
your party?
I don't. He was not,
party?
but he would have fit right in. We would have had fun doing the Hallmark Christmas movie bingo, which is fantastic. The 4 defensive line, Michigan State losing a number of guys to the portal at that position, or guys who are leaving. Like I'm curious to see what they look like there. I'm curious to see who they bring in this portal, who's able to develop. And, I do not think next year is going to go all that smoothly, and there's not a lot to convince me otherwise yet. And I think people are just going to have to brace themselves for that. And, again, the key is you don't have the Minnesota and the Indiana game. People will deal with another season, I think, of building if it looks like there's competence and there's not that one game where you go, what the hell is this? Or there's not that game where they just really blow a massive lead in their coaching blunders and all that stuff. And then there's some young players that people get excited about. If you see young corners that are good, you see a young quarterback who's good, something like that. If it's Caton Hauser's first year and he looks like a really promising young player, people will deal with a few interceptions. You know what I mean? That's the stuff now. We'll see what they ultimately decide to do at that position, but I do think it's interesting.
Spartan 18770 next. Hot takes, high school recruits edition. Number 1, High school recruits, if you have more than 5 schools on your list, you haven't decided shit. Get back to me on the 21st. 2. High school recruits, your verbal commitment is worth less than FTX crypto. Hitting the ignore button on my phone. And 3. High school recruits, don't ask me to follow you on social media. It's creepy, and I'm not committing until you commit to us. Boom. Sound of mic dropping.
Or just the mic falling off this.
Yeah.
That's usually more likely here.
That's true.
Yeah, I've told the number of stories that I've told that are like mic drop stories versus the mic actually falling. The ratio is probably like 2 to 1. Mic actually falling.
It's a good ratio.
Yeah. And, no, I'm with you on this. Like, you're right. And one of my least favorite sayings is when a high school recruit says, I will be making my decision on this day. Bullshit. Because that's not how decisions work. You can announce your decision on that day. You can't make your decision. You don't decide when you make your decision. You don't know that you don't. And if you're making a decision that way, that's a dumb thing to do. I try not to tweet out lists. I guess if it's Jabari Parker level prospect and Michigan State makes the final 3, I'll tweet it out. But otherwise, I'm not giving the attention, and I don't think it's a big deal because ultimately, in this day and age, the odds that a kid who commits is actually going to sign and then sign and stay and not transfer are already small enough. And if you're just one of 5 or 10 schools, then fuck off. And I'm not telling the kid should have fun with this. This is their moment. But ultimately, let's not pay a whole lot of attention to it.
G.E. Miller next. Number 1, Joey Buckets is quietly having a great season and will get paid after this year. The rise is real. 2, Tyson Walker could easily be a 20-plus point scorer every night if he takes more shots. And 3, all of the Matty Sissoko's 2-game mirage is gone. He's last year's Matty with slightly more bulk.
So the Matty Sissoko thing is an interesting discussion because one of the things that I have begun to believe about Matty Sissoko, and I mentioned this a little while ago, is I think he's better playing up than he is playing down in competition. I think, and that can work to some, like if when they play somebody like Kentucky or Gonzaga and you play an All-American center, he can rise up when less is expected of him against better players and use his athleticism and hold himself and put up a good game. He's not smooth enough as a basketball player to take advantage of mismatches himself. Doesn't understand the game well enough. I thought he played okay against Brown. I thought he did some decent things. He's a really good screener. He was okay on the glass. Sometimes I think he could be better there. But ultimately, what'll be interesting is him being able to play up, and can he continue to play up when they play really good big men enough for MSU? Because that's when you need him to be. I mean, that was going to be the problem, right? You don't have a big man to counter Hunter Dickinson. Well, let's see what Matty Sissoko does against Hunter Dickinson. If he's really good in that game, or at least good enough, then you can have games where he's not as effective against lesser players.
Bo McJunkins next. Number 1, Illinois basketball can go to hell. 13-leg, $10 parlay that paid $2,000 lost because they couldn't beat Penn State at home.
Man. Oh, you're going to have to spite bet them all year.
Forever.
That's brutal.
2.
13 legs, so 12 other legs hit. Damn.
That's good math.
Thank you.
2. On a positive note, that Penn State win looks better. 3. If we are going to reward a 2-loss quarterback for the Heisman, Hendon Hooker should have won the award this year.
There's a good argument for that. Yeah, I do. Parlay is still sticking with me. That's a nasty one.
But if a player gets hurt, how long? Like, what's the cutoff for your Heisman vote? If other guys do certain things, right? It's recency bias. It's kind of hard to look at Hendon Hooker's season as a whole.
Right. No, and
nothing against him.
I think you could argue Hendon Hooker should have won it, and I think it's fine to go with Caleb Williams. I think the C.J. Stroud probably not. To number 2. Look, when you're Michigan State, you want Northwestern to do well. You want Penn State. You want teams you played, and frankly, everybody in the Big Ten that you're gonna play, you want to do well in the non-conference because it just helps you regardless of your result against them.
Some dude next. Number 1, either due to physical limitations or restricted play time from injuries, all of the MSU Hoops players will return next year. This includes Hauser applying for a medical red shirt as a result of the extended case of diarrhea. 2. With this and the depth of the recruiting class coming in, Izzo employs a vicious press in 2023. Meanwhile, fashion is dictating that the players' shorts are getting shorter. 3. So the team wins the 2023 National Championship with a complete rehash of 1979, including giant froze and nut hugger shorts. Bonus. After decades of not getting a single call from the NFL, the Lions are now getting all of them.
Does it feel like they're getting all the calls?
No.
No. Okay. I don't know if it'll ever do that. To the point about all the guys potentially coming back next year, my guess is no on Hauser, but and it'll also be interesting on a lot of these guys. Like if all the guards come back next year, and you add, Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears Jr. to that mix, like. I mean, you start to, and especially Fears is a guy I think is going to find his way onto the court a little bit. It gets crowded quick. It'll be really interesting to see what happens, who wants to come back, who it makes sense to come back. I mean, I think certainly a guy like A.J. Hogarth is going to be back. Do younger players who are there now feel like they're being passed up? And we'll see does Trey Holloman be a guy who's a program guy for a lot of years? And that's the thing you'd never know in this easy to transfer era, are people going to be patient?
Ken Chu next. Number one, I watched a lot of USC games because, Song Girls and Caleb Williams is a deserving Heisman winner. 2, Nebraska got absolutely robbed of a victory over Purdue. College refs are ass. And 3, the Ray Guy Award selection process is an embarrassment.
Yeah, Bryce Behringer should have won that. I mean, there are a lot of good deserving punters, but he was out front by several yards of everybody, and it wasn't like he was booming kicks just into the end zone. He hit a lot of kicks inside the 10, inside the 20. Did it with a backup holder or a snapper who was not getting him the ball where he needed it all the time. Like I don't get it. I just don't.
Did the Rutgers guy have a fake that converted for a first down? Do they look at that? I mean, what? How would you look at both and go?
Well, it's not as simple as just how many yards you kick the ball, right? And I get that. Like you can't just have the booming leg guy. Otherwise, you just give it to the guy who has the longest average every year. But there has to be, and the Iowa guy had a great year, and there are lots of. But the guy who won it was like third team All Big Ten, and he's the top guy in the country. Like I don't get it.
Bob tweets next. Number one, being told to wait years for positive things to happen in sports is ass. 2, this is the worst time I've ever had being a fan of Detroit sports and Michigan State. And 3, edibles are greater than smoking.
Certainly for the smell. Like you're a fan of both, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm primarily
I dabble with both.
This guy meant edibles guy. This is the worst time that he says I've ever had being a fan of Detroit sports and Michigan State. I think.
How old are you, Bob tweets?
Yeah, like here's the thing. Michigan State, I get that right now there's some it's partly what's happening with Michigan. But so I buy the Michigan State stuff if you're young enough. The Detroit sports, though, I feel like we're on a little bit of an upswing. The Lions, obviously, the Pistons, at least, even though they're not playing well, have dudes who are supposed to be part of the future. The Red Wings are a lot better. The Tigers at least finally got rid of Alavila. Like I feel like there's some reason to pay attention to a lot of things that we haven't necessarily had in Detroit sports.
Carl Mylock next. Number one, inconsistency in your favorite sports team is ass. 2, coach speak is ass. You lost, but you did it the right way. No one fucking cares. Win the fucking game. And 3, Crown Royal Apple is elite.
Carl is also somebody who's a young fella, because I'm not sure Crown Royal Apple would be my. Have you ever had Crown Royal Apple?
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember the burning sensation going down. Yeah.
Carl, I want to introduce you to Zima, man. Like
Zima
back in the day. Like,
Jesus, that.
You remember those days?
Oh God, yeah. And clear Pepsi. I mean,
like the early stuff you were drinking. I remember
you didn't have to drink Zima.
When I was 19, I drank what was ever in the fridge or whatever party
liquor.
was.
What are you talking about?
You were cooler than I was.
It's all we could get.
Yeah, well,
they wouldn't give us a paper bag, so that's how we got out of there. They sold it to us.
I love Mickey's. That was the thing I loved.
Oh, yeah.
Mickey's was great. Mickey's malt liquor. You could get Mickey's for like $2, 32 ounces, 40 ounces, whatever it was. It was incredible. It was a great.
But you'll shit your pants the next day.
Great way to spend
trade
the
off.
Yeah, but back then whatever.
It was throw them out. You could get on a new pair.
It was fine. Yeah,
good old days. Couch on fire next. Number one. Amazing turnaround by the MSU hockey program. 2, Izzo hasn't been good since 2015. 3 Big Ten championships and a Final Four would be a career for a lot of coaches. 3. Joey Hauser looking like another MSU final year special. Don't disappear. And bonus. Keedy, schedule is greater than recruiting.
I don't know, Katie, maybe Gene Katie, his schedule. I don't know exactly where we're going with that. But I will say this: if you were going to go to an MSU hockey game, a Muskox high quality flannel is a great wearing option choice. Wore mine last week in the press box there as well. Michigan-based, Detroit-based apparel company. So you're talking about your money's going to a company that is here in Michigan. They also deeply care about the planet, which is why $10 of every flannel sold goes toward the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. And I'm telling you, soft, comfortable, fantastic flannel. Just ordered another one. You can order yours too for Christmas, for anybody else, for yourself. Get your own self a Christmas gift at gomuskox.com. $15 off with the promo code CAW15. Again, gomuskox.com. To Mr. Neurotic Pants is top. We'll go with number 3 here. Oh, sorry, we're not. This was Couch on Fire. I apologize. We haven't read Mr. Neurotic Pants. I got on the wrong one. It has been a pretty impressive turnaround by the MSU hockey program. What I want to see from MSU hockey now and from the fan base is this just a distraction from some frustration, or does this become a thing? And because it's going to take, it sounds like they got one huge recruit coming in next year already, but it's going to take a minute to get all of his guys in. There's going to be some ups and downs a little bit. And are people back on board, or is this just a distraction? Is hockey a big thing? And
well, how's he doing it? For someone that doesn't watch the hockey, I mean, it just feels like he came in and turned the program around pretty quick. Like you mentioned, he doesn't have his guys.
He did get some good transfers, including Dylan St. Cyr, the goalie. But they've had good goalies at times throughout the shitty, lean years. The style of play is very different, and they've got guys who are who seem to adapt to it. It's a much more aggressive, much more offensive style of hockey, and it's working. I mean, guys have bought in, and I think they do have better talent there than they certainly played to in recent years. But he's brought in the right guys, and he's brought in a new attitude, and they're playing with and then you start rolling, and we'll see. What they still can't do yet, and that Minnesota series sort of showed it, was play the very, very top tier teams. But even that, they got one. Their top line has been unbelievably impressive and rolling quite a bit. They've got a real shot at the NCAA tournament, which I think will. It's been dormant for a decade. You got to be a pretty, if you're like an 18-year-old kid, you never knew MSU hockey decent, and so that you've got to win back the fan base. I think it's a fun environment, and I think they'll be in the tournament this year.
All right, now Mr. Neurotic Pants. Number 1, watching MSU hoops and ice this weekend was fun, but streaming platforms are still ass, and sometimes hard to find ass at that. 2, I should be able to buy tickets to Horizon League games without having to go to Vivid Seats, then Ticketmaster, then the university, and then Google. 3, MSU football should exclusively play cupcakes in its pre-conference season. 3 wins is halfway to a bowl game, and there would be fewer injuries. The Big Ten is tough enough.
I don't buy this, and I don't. First of all, I don't think it's something your fans want. If you've got 2 of those games at home, or 3 of them at home, you don't want to play Akron, Western Michigan, and then Bowling Green. You want somebody else in there if you're playing 3 of them at home. And like Washington next year is a fun game for people. And if you're going to be great, you ought to beat. You can't juke the system. Michigan juked the system this year. It worked out okay for them. Play one high major team in every non-conference season. It just should be the way it is.
Did they really juke it though? I mean, it's taking advantage of it if it's there.
Yeah, but the 8. I mean, the 8 home games is ridiculous.
It is.
It's ridiculous.
But they're allowed to do it.
They are, and they should be. I mean, I would put that, if I were running college football, that would be one of the things I would say. You cannot play more than 7 home games. You're just ineligible for the postseason if you do. Yeah.
DBM, number 1, this MSU basketball team will live or die by Hogard. 2, without COVID, Izzo wins his 2nd natty and retires. It's the Coach Nate Oates era in East Lansing. 3, we need a couch in the Rube golf outing. Yeah. Bonus, the McAllisters should have been sent to prison after losing Kevin in New York.
For a second time? Yeah, I don't know. It's
I mean, you figure after the first.
You don't do it
time
again.
you lose your kid, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love that movie at that age, though. I don't know if I've laughed as hard ever as I did as a 12-year-old on Home Alone 2 when the bricks were being thrown off the upper floor or roof and hitting Daniel Stern in the face. That was, oh, God, that was good. By the way, the Alabama loss for Michigan State, looking better and better. Alabama I think it was on the road, maybe a neutral site game, but just beat Houston, which is going to be one of the top teams in the country all year. So that's not a loss that's going to hurt you at all. Golf outing, I'll be up for it. I don't know how we do it though. I'd be happy just to like drink beers at the club at the turn and talk to people when they came by instead of actually playing.
Fuck that.
You want to play?
Yeah.
Okay.
What, sit at one hole and just talk to people that are coming up? You hit a tee shot. I mean, you can do it. That's what they do at golf outings, right? You just sit there on one hole and hit tee shots with the other people. I don't know.
I know, we'd figure.
I'd rather play.
Okay.
Plus size softball dad. Next. Number 1. I wish justice worked as quickly as your broken mic did last show every time someone was going to say some nonsense. 2. I hope the suspended Spartan players sue MSU because leadership are beta cuck P words. Harbaugh showed how it's done. 3. The Washtenaw County prosecutor will be referred to as celebrated MGO blogger Eli Savitt going forward.
So what he's saying here is the fact that I was talking about the blue wall and spewing some nonsense right as the microphone fell. It was the timing was
great. It was awesome.
Yeah, was noteworthy as well. I mean, I get why. I mean, they should not have prosecuted the other 6, the 6 guys. Other than Crump, none of these guys should have been prosecuted, and they shouldn't have been. Again, I'll say this: Harbaugh should not have pushed them to be prosecuted. That I can buy it the night it happened. I can buy being emotional, whatever. You don't have all the information. To me, that Monday at his press conference, when he had a little more information, when he had time to cool down, he did not need to push that, and he created part of this. He didn't help bring down the temperature.
John, next. Number 1, thank you for engaging in the conversation around the blue wall. That being said, Graham uses leans when some stronger adjectives would be accurate. 2, the transfer portal comparison to Olympic sports is flawed due to the partial scholarships. Can't make a kid pay and also sit. 3, I mulched the leaves with the lawnmower one last time last week. I can't believe Graham had his crew stop in October. And 4, bonus take for your Detroit area listeners. An LSJ subscription gives access to electronic editions of both the LSJ and Free Press.
Yeah, and you can go on to the USA Today Sports Plus app and get Gannett papers, Indianapolis, Detroit, things from all over the country for the sports stuff. So if you get an LSJ subscription, you can read Free Press Sports, and so just people. Thank you for bringing that up, John.
So you can keep up on the blue wall, am I right?
So yeah, right. So you can see if the blue wall exists, and a couple things I want to get into this. One, the lawn mowing crew is me, but yeah, I did stop in October at some point.
Who's on the crew?
Just me. I'm the crew. No, she is not. She mowed the lawn once. She thought it was going to be her thing. I took a picture, tweeted it out. This was like 6 years ago now.
One of your best tweets, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great one. These are all really good tweets from John. These really could have been the I fucked it up again. The Hopcat hot take of the day.
It's hot here.
Because the Olympic sport, this is a good point about the partial scholarships and not making. So one of the things I've said is the way to fix the transfer portal and the allowance of kids to play immediately would be you'd have to make it so volleyball players and other non-revenue sports couldn't play immediately either. That was part of the problem, is those kids could play immediately already. Why couldn't basketball players? Why couldn't football players? And that would have to be one of the things that was noted. If you were on full scholarship, to transfer and play elsewhere, you have to sit out. If you are a partial scholarship or you're a walk-on, whatever the money is differently, then you can play immediately. And that would be something that would easily say, because all the football and basketball players are on full scholarship, so that would equate things there. I get it with the blue wall stuff. I mean, I really I get why people are frustrated. I get the perception of it. what happens for me is you got to understand, I know all these people. And it's not that I'm trying to protect them, but I also know them. I've had these conversations with them, and I know it is not of intent to protect the University of Michigan. I know which university some of these sports editors lean to, and it's largely often, sometimes the publishers, and it's often Michigan State. And it doesn't mean there haven't been, there aren't certain columnists that tend to, I thought Wojo should have written on this and didn't from the Detroit News. And that's a voice that was missing. He didn't write the way that Sean Windsor and that Mitch Albom did, and that doesn't look great. And I'm not going to say there haven't been examples where it's clear and obvious to people. It's just not there to me. I don't notice it as much. And maybe because I think of it and see it differently from you, but I also know these people personally and have had conversations about the way they think and why they do certain things. And so it's just hard for me to call something out that I don't believe is as intentional as other people do.
Rich Searing next. Number one, if Malik Hall gets back into the game gets back into game shape quick enough, MSU will be a top 3 or 4 in the Big Ten by March. 2, the hypocrisy of Michigan will never be called out as it should be, so we might as well just let it go. It sucks and it's bullshit, but that is reality. And 3, I found a shirt for Graham at the Hallmark store and sent him a pic. Everyone should demand that he post it on his account so everyone can see it. Graham, I'm sending it to your wife so she knows what to get you for Christmas.
Fuck, I was going to pull this up too. Hold on. Oh, give me some hot for 1 second. All right, I will do this. It basically says, it's the most wonderful time for a Hallmark Channel movie marathon.
That's what the shirt says?
Yeah, I would wear that for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, Grob next. Grob. Number 1, Izzo got on the beat writers for not knowing the stats. So, Graham, as someone who does his 3 takes by halftime, should we blame Solari or, better yet, Joe Rexroad?
Definitely Rexroad.
2, for Christmas, I am getting Jason a window fan, and for Graham, a subscription to Grammarly, as I have noticed a heat wave blow through the studio when Jason messes up, but perhaps Graham forgets to edit these takes properly.
I think both things happen. I mean,
There is a fan in here, by the way. I do have a fan on me. 3, the latest Graham poll is now in. Graham Bessinger and his
Benzinger, I think it is.
Whatever. And his interview with Izzo at 72%. Graham Crackers at 27%, and Graham Couch with his Hallmark movies and soccer at 1%. Bonus, you can't sell Skyman and Groovy Donuts, drop F-bombs, act like a badass, and not give your Heisman ballot. Do you have some Howard Stern in you, or are you going to be lame? Here's your chance.
No, it was 3 quarterbacks. It was USC, Kansas State, and Tennessee. Those 3 quarterbacks were the guys that I gave it to, and I didn't, wasn't proud of myself, but didn't have a better, and it wasn't that I didn't put effort into it. I didn't, but it just, there's got to be better players out there, and I don't know them, and that's ass. Fair enough. I would not call myself, and the poll of Grams, I am way, 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 way down the list.
Clint One Ball Bainey next. Number 1, I would rather watch my grandma in a 1964 black and white Bukkake movie than watch 1 second of the World Cup. Damn. Wow. 2, if I could find my grandma in a 1964 black and white Bukkake movie, I would sell it to the highest bidder. Hey, don't judge me. I've got 2 kids in college. 3, I was pulling for Aiden Hutchinson to sack Kirk Cousins all day today. It felt so wrong, but it felt so right. And bonus take. It's time to start thinking about Goff as part of our rebuilding plans. Deal with it, Couch and Rube.
I'm okay with him being a part of things. You just can't commit to him too much financially. That's where, and you can't not draft a quarterback if you're not sure about him. And
you can't deny that when I said he looked like ass, he did look like ass.
And the other thing is, we've got the rest of the season before a decision has to be made. So that's the other thing. They've got, 4 games left? Yep. And, 4 games and maybe a playoff game. but we'll see what he does. And what's great now is it is a young team, but they're going to face some like the Jets on the road. That's a tough game. The Jets were really good today against the Bills on the road. So like the Jets on the road, how does Jared Goff look in a game that they need to win to get to a playoff? That's what I want to see, because a guy who you're going to commit to is going to look okay. And he didn't look okay on the road at like New England earlier in the year and other situations. Like, so we'll find out.
Tucker Tarlson next. Number 1, Ronaldo is a washed legend. I'm sure he'll be taking his blood money with pride.
I think he's going to Saudi Arabia, maybe.
2, next year's MSU football season prediction. CMU, win. Richmond, win. Washington, loss. Maryland, win. Iowa, loss. Rutgers, win. Michigan, L. Minnesota, L. Nebraska, W. Indiana, W. Penn State, L.
You forgot the Ohio State game, which I'm assuming you would say is an L. So that would make it 6-6, 4-5 in the Big Ten, and you say that's your ceiling. We'll see. You could argue that who knows what'll happen to a couple of these teams, Iowa next year, and we don't know what Maryland will be, or there are a number of these teams we don't know what they'll be year to year. But I think you're in the realm of what it'll be next season.
Tyrone Couch next. Number 1, Big Ten Network's Mike Hall saying that his mom paid for his hookers in East Lansing was an amazing story. Good for him.
What? Wait, did you hear about this?
I don't know. I don't listen to those guys.
It can't be real.
I can't listen to it. 2, the MSU hockey game was fun. It was like soccer, only way cooler. MSU will be known as a hockey school until August. Unless rowing is doing well, then we can vote on it. 3, Jason, ignore this one. All right. Hans Jurgen next. Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes are phenomenal. I mean, they are like plastic and a Twinkie, but phenomenal. Groovy Donuts should make one. It would be the gourmet version for sure.
They do listen to these sort of things. Sometimes if there is something that sounds like a great donut idea that's another kind of dessert, they turn it into a donut. So Andrew and Monica at Groovy Donuts do this with a lot of other desserts. So they may hear this and you may get your wish.
Little Debbie donut. Oh my God, delicious. Hans Jurgen. Number 1, MSU ceiling is a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament unless Keon Coleman is the next Matt Trannon. 2, in my 30-plus years of watching MSU basketball, I've never been able to take anything away from playing cream puffs like Brown. And 3, Brown and Graham's hot takes are like the color of poop.
Appreciate you, Hans. The Keon Coleman, Matt Trannon thing is not a bad hope. I mean, that's the best case scenario, right? Is that he's somebody who has that sort of impact.
I haven't heard Trannon's name in a minute.
And Trannon was a huge addition to the basketball team. Yep. And so it was a really good receiver. I mean, he obviously set a lot of records because he played in that offense, but he wasn't. I think Keon Coleman is a better NFL prospect as a receiver. So maybe Coleman comes in and gives them something, defensively or athletically that helps them. I'll be curious to see. He was a little beat up at the end of the season. This would be the type of week he'd be joining the team, and so we'll see if they, by the time, I'm off this week. I'm on a furlough this week, and I think Solari's off. I don't think they're going to have any availability. They don't have any games, but by next Monday, we should have an idea of whether or not the 19th, I'd say, Keon Coleman is on the team and what's going on there.
Jake Hawkins next. Number 1, finally MSU gets a long-awaited break after through a complete, utter gauntlet of a schedule. Please get healthy so we can be competitive in conference play. The Big Ten schedule itself is going to be a gauntlet. 2, heard on Friday's show that you guys are wanting to do a Rube Awards show called The Rubies. I like it. You need to hire, or you need someone who can research nominations for categories and who's got a really good memory. I'm your man.
We know you are, Jake. And if we ever do something like this for real, do it, we'll reach out to people for nominations because
it'll never happen.
Jason can't remember the last show, let alone this show.
I can't remember this show.
Right. That's why his stories are so good because they're all fresh in his head. He doesn't even remember if he's told them before sometimes. It's absolutely.
What can I do?
It's absolutely fantastic. We appreciate all of you and your hot takes. We're going to do one more show this week. We'll figure out when. We've got some scheduling stuff going on, so we'll figure that out and get it out there. We appreciate Muskox Go to gomuskox.com and order your flannels for Christmas. Do that by the 15th to get in normal, regular shipping, the 21st for priority shipping. Appreciate Hopcat. Go to hopcat.com for location information around here. And, of course, Skyman. Let Skyman get you through this holiday season. You can also order our shirts, and we will tweet out the link again, re-Facebook it, all that stuff. And we need to do that by the middle of this week to get those to you in time for Christmas. And if you have another idea you want, shoot us a DM, and we'll get back to you and see what we can do. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.